Welcome to Mr. Yang's classroom. In this lesson, we're going to be completing the square. There will be 3 example questions. One's going to be done using algebra tiles, and 2 are going to be done using area models. In this first example, where we're going to be completing the square using algebra tiles, you can see our trinomial here. X squared plus 4x plus 1 is equal to 0. You can see those terms represented by our algebra tiles here. Our x squared term goes right here. Our plus 4x is split up into halves. So what's half of 4x? That's right, it's 2x plus 2x and plus 2x, okay? And our plus 1 term is represented by this unit tile right here. And now we're going to have to see how many more unit tiles we're going to need to complete our square. It looks like there's going to be 3, okay? But we'll try to figure that out. So let's figure out the outside of our model. X squared is actually x times x, right? Now x times what should equal 2x? That's right, it's plus 2. X times plus 2 is equal to 2x. Now we can do 2 times 2 is equal to 4. Okay, now what did we have to do to make this whole unit area 4? We had to add 3 to both sides of the equation. Whatever you do to the left side, you have to do to the right side. So let's do that into our equation right here. We're doing plus 3 and plus 3, okay? That leaves us with x squared plus 4x, 1 plus 3 is plus 4 is equal to 3. Now, this left side, x squared plus 4x plus 4, is represented by this entire square. And it's a perfect square that's already been factored for us, okay? X plus 2 times x plus 2. So we could rewrite this left side as x plus 2 squared is equal to 3. Now, it's rewritten this way. What is our next step in solving this equation for x? That's right, we're going to have to square root both sides to get rid of this square term. So the square root and the square cancel out, leaving us with x plus 2 is equal to, this should be plus or minus the square root of 3. So we'll leave it just like that, plus or minus the square root of 3. Okay? Now we can rewrite this equation in 2 different ways. We know that there's going to be 2 solutions because there's a plus and a minus term. So we're going to subtract 2 to both sides. Remember, we cannot combine this square root and this minus 2 because this is in a square root. So it's going to be x is equal to square root of 3, positive square root of 3 minus 2, and negative square root of 3 minus 2. Okay? So there's 2 solutions to this equation. In this second example of completing the square using area models, it's exactly the same as using algebra tiles minus the algebra tiles. So let's go ahead and put our x squared term into our first little box here. Okay? Now let's split up our second term, our minus 6x. What is half of minus 6x? Let's think about that for a second. Okay? It should be negative 3x and negative 3x because negative 3x plus negative 3x should equal negative 6x. Now that we've filled out these 3 boxes in our square, let's complete our outside. X times x is equal to x squared. Now x times what is equal to negative 3x? That's right, it's negative 3. X times negative 3 is equal to negative 3x. Now we can find our final square by multiplying negative 3 times negative 3 to get positive 9. Okay? So now we have our x squared term right here. We have our minus 6x term right here. And then we have our plus 9 term not yet, right? We need to transform this plus 7 into plus 9, okay? So let's think about what needs to be done to both sides of the equation to make this plus 9. Now, if you guessed plus 2, that's correct. we're going to add plus 2 to both sides of the equation, leading us to have x squared minus 6x plus 9 is equal to 0 plus 2 is 2. Okay, now we have our x squared minus 6x plus 9 right here. X squared minus 6x plus 9. Now, this box is already perfectly factored for you to x minus 3 times x minus 3. So we can rewrite the left side as x minus 3 squared is equal to 2. Okay, you see how we got that? Now our next step would be to get rid of this square term. So let's square root it. The square and the square root cancel out, leaving us with, this should be plus and minus square root of 2. X minus 3 is equal to plus or minus the square root of 2. Okay? We're going to add 3 to both sides. Okay? That's going to leave us with x is equal to positive square root of 2 plus 3, as well as negative square root of 2 plus 3. Okay? 2 answers here. Now let's work on our last example question to complete the square using area models. We have our trinomial here, p squared plus 2p plus 1 is equal to 0. So we're going to place our first term, p squared, into this box. Okay? Now let's split up our second term, 2p, in half. What's half of 2p? If you guessed 1p, that's correct. We can just put that as p and p. Okay? Now that we have these 3 boxes of our area model complete, we can complete our outside. P times p is equal to p squared. P times what is equal to p? P times 1 is equal to p, right? P times 1 is equal to p. Now we can get our last square. 1 times 1 should equal to 1. Okay, so now let's take a look at our equation. P squared, represented right here. 2p, represented right here. And our plus 1 is already a plus 1. We don't need to do anything to this to make it a perfect square trinomial. So we can rewrite this whole left side as our factored form, p plus 1 times p plus 1. So we have p plus 1 squared is equal to 0. Okay? We're going to square root both sides to get rid of this square. Oh, now this is a square root of a 0 term, right? So is there a plus or minus square root of 0? No, that's just 0, okay? So we have our left side as p plus 1 is equal to 0. Now how many answers do you think this will have? If you guessed 1, that's correct, because we're going to subtract 1 from both sides, leaving us on the left side with p is equal to 0 minus 1 is negative 1. Okay? There's only one solution to this question.